Anyway, okay,
Anyway.
so everybody, let's save this as a coaching session. We're doing a coaching session with Porkey2332. Is that your name on Twitch when you stream, or do you mostly do YouTube stuff?
No, that's my name on Twitch as well.
Oh, I think I may actually go ahead and disable the camera. Is what I'm going to do. Let me find the camera to disable. There we go. Whatever. Good enough. Sorry, my mind. I'm sleepy. It's 8, almost 9 a.m. here, so I'm playing catch up.
Oh, dude, you should have told me dude, we'll wait like an hour.
Oh, whatever. Doesn't change anything. I just ate. Okay.
Oh,
So yes, that's the base 9-point build for any CV. So you're looking to do Midway stuff.
yeah, we'll do Midway for now. Yeah.
Okay. So you have 11 more points. Do you
Yeah.
want me to tell you what to pick, or do you want
Well,
me to
I
guide
was
you
kind
through
of
the
looking for
picking
your.
process?
Yeah, I'm kind of looking for your recommendations because this is what I usually run, and I'm very open to the fact that it's probably wrong, but this is kind of just comfort picks. Um,
Okay. So, let's talk about a few things first. Last Gasp. Can you tell
yes.
me what Last Gasp does?
So I personally like that skill for towards the end of the game. If I only have if I only have 4 TBs left coming in on a strike, I'm guaranteed to lose one. I like the extra fill up on the boost. I feel that I'm more able to push damage through with Last Gasp.
Okay. Um, okay, so Last Gasp, if we look at it, the rocket planes are going to have 9, the torpedoes are going to have 9. So that means that Last Gasp is about the follow-up strike. Now, I think
Hmm.
in Southeast Asia, I've heard it preached that the Last Gasp can be used as like a map crosser for efficiency.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is. So perhaps that's just something that I have yet to see. But in general, any 9x9 format is pretty fine for Last Gasp as long as you expect to get more than one strike off. So
Mhm.
it's okay. I wouldn't use it as a mainline talent. I would use it as a potential talent because there are
Yep.
situations where it could matter. There's situations where it won't. However, if you look
Mhm.
to just to the right of it, there's a plus 5% boost skill.
Yep.
So I want you to hover over torpedo bombers real quick. On the right side, there we go. So we see engine boost time 22 seconds. We see engine boost reload time 40 seconds. So
Mhm.
base is 20, reload is 40, which means you regen 1 second of boost for every 2 seconds of not using it, right? Well, there's an upgrade that you picked. I think it's in slot 2 that gives you plus 10% boost. That's why you have 22 now. So
Mhm.
your regen has gone from one unit of boost for every 2 seconds to 1.1 units of boost for every 2 seconds. If
Yep.
you take the engine talent, the plus 5%, then it goes to 1.15 for every 2 seconds. So not only does it give you more boost in total, it gives you a larger boost capacity, but it increases your regen rate by 10, or in this case 15%, if you stack them.
Mhm.
That's important for crossing the map, which means that it can help you maintain velocity while you're crossing the map, and then you arrive at a fight with full boost. And 20 seconds is often the amount of boost you're going to use across 2 strikes, which
Mhm.
means you wouldn't need Last Gasp.
I see.
Also, there are going to be a lot of situations where you only can strike once. Therefore, one of these talents is always useful. One of these talents is conditionally useful. That's not a bad thing, but it's a good thing to know.
Mhm.
So I'm going to recommend the plus 5 for now.
Okay.
Going down further, you have Proximity Fuse. I like that. Do you know why I like that?
Yes,
Well, tell me.
I think so. Because I watched your YouTube video on this morning. Um,
Mm-hmm.
because you put out 6 for the Midway specifically,
Mm-hmm.
because you put out 6 torpedo planes or 6 torpedoes, the damage across all of those torps is -10, right? So if you've got a cruiser that's got 13% torpedo protection, it's effectively 3%. So it can be I don't want to say really efficient with the damage, but it's really good at pushing the damage through. Is that correct?
Here's the easier way to look at it. Hover over the torpedo bombers. You'll see each torpedo, the maximum damage is basically, we'll say 5,000 for easy numbers. First off, you're never actually going to get that. It's probably more like 4,300. Sucks, but that's just the way the mechanics roll. But we'll just pretend easy numbers 5,000. You land 6 torps. 5,000 times 6 torps, 30,000 damage. So if you hit any kind of torpedo protection, then that's straight up a damage reduction. So 10% more through ends up being 3,000 more damage per torpedo strike. 2 strikes, both with 6 torps into it, is potentially an additional 6,000 in citadel damage. That's pretty sexy. That's actually pretty damn cool. So realistically, with a Midway, you're probably not going to hit all 6 into the torpedo protection just because it's a wide spread. But nonetheless, like, one, the U.S. ships aim for battleships anyway, because your reticles on your bombers, your reticles on your torpedo planes rip into battleships because they're large. And 2, the actual throw rate's pretty sexy. So, I mean, each of your interactions, you can get a lot by proxy fuse. So, love the proxy fuse. Okay, moving on to Demolition Expert. Why Demolition Expert?
Because I don't use it for the attack aircraft, the rockets. I like it on the torpedo bombers because when I put the flag on, you get up to like a 71% fire chance.
Okay,
which is pretty nice.
Yep. So the base on there, I think, is 63% fire chance, I believe. I think with double flag and then demolition, it goes up to 70. You may have one flag already equipped. So, or maybe it goes up to 71. Anyway, if your base fire chance, in this case, is 63%, if you add 5% fire chance per bomb, you're increasing your chance to get a fire, quote unquote, relative to not getting a fire, by about 8%. So if you had a 50% fire chance and you added 5% more fire chance, that would be an increase in 10%. Why? Because you have 10% more chance compared to what you had before. But it's still a solid increase. The reason why I go through all this is because there are several CV folks that are like, well, honestly, Demolition Expert, your raw fire chance is so high, who gives a shit? It's an understandable thing.
Yeah.
But it's still an 8% increase in fires across however many bombs you're going to drop, which realistically in a match could be between 40 and 50. So that could be as much as an additional 4 fires. And secondly, if you land 6 bombs, just in raw fire chance, that's plus 30% chance for a fire. And that means it's more likely for you to get multiple fires, which is going to encourage damage cons, which for somebody who's trying to damage farm is not necessarily the highlight of their life, but it's helpful to the team. And ultimately, winning is the goal. I like Demolition Expert, but it's an 8% increase. It could be forgettable. It's worth remembering that we don't have to take this talent. We could put the points elsewhere. So it doesn't matter, but it's worth remembering. Proxy Fuse, I think, is actually too good to lose. Sight Stab, why?
Honestly, it's a comfort pick. The torps I find really hard to get them to behave.
Sure. So I'm going to tell you right now that probably means that you're torpedoing wrong. So I'm going to ask you to remove sight stability so that we can move those points somewhere else. And we're going to use this in a training room before we go into a live environment to look at what you do. So that gives us 3 points. Additional bomb speed is kind of a meme. It doesn't really matter on the Midway. Realistically, the thing that matters on a Midway is bombing a big target twice. I mean, you could put more bomb speed on the bombers and really just kind of make them a highlight of your life, but if you take a unique upgrade and you take that, you put a whole bunch of bullshit into it, that's cool, but that's 1 out of 3 of your tools. And I don't know, that's up to personal preference. I would leave that to an advanced user. Secondaries obviously would be a meme. I do not think you should spec the torpedoes on the Midway, so the 2 pointers, the reduced arming time and the speed, I don't think you fuck with that at all. I don't think you fuck with the healing, because you only have a heal on the torpedo planes, and honestly, I mean, it doesn't matter. So really this leaves flak reduction, which I would say is probably something you look at for a competitive setting. Because if you take flak in a competitive setting and you lose more planes than you should, that's going to be a kick in the nuts that lasts the rest of the match. So you don't want to risk that. Now this is what I personally like. I find a lot of value in the 2-point fighter talent over on the right. The reason for this, you have 3 consumables per plane, that's 9 per match. If you take that, it's 3 additional that you can have across the match, that's up to 12. Fighters can be useful for protecting yourself late game when you're in a carrier duel. Fighters can be useful for holding position or trying to give somebody a way out. So if you've got a DD, the enemy CV is up his ass, you could drop a fighter on top of him, not to save the DD, but to encourage the CV to go fuck with somebody else for a little while, which means that DD can kind of like re-engage their cloak of invisibility and hopefully drop off the map for a little bit. So if the CV really wants to sit on top of him, he's going to have to go through effort to do so. And then also spotting, which is a pretty big thing. If you're going to deal with a ship, or your DDs are dead, or your DDs are doing something stupid, then you theoretically have a backup form of spotting that you can provide your team, and more is always better. And having them is much better than not having them. Like if we look on this stuff, sight stab, you can already shoot. That doesn't change. There's nothing different about your shooting. You just aim a little faster. Torpedo speed, arming distance, all that shit. Secondaries, that one, the 4-pointer, fundamentally changes how your secondaries interact with the game. But Patrol Group Leader fundamentally changes how you interact with the game for 2 points. I love this talent. I have to recommend it. So I would ask that you take that. That gives you 1 additional point. Now you could take this in Last Gasp, which would be nice and a comfort pick. Or you could put it into Patrol Group Leader or something, or whatever the patrol thing, search and destroy. If you're not using your fighters to really protect, then Last Gasp is a great pick, because you can theoretically get 2 drops off with the torp bombers, or potentially 2 attack runs with the attack aircraft. So Last Gasp will go with that one because you do like it. And of course, these things can be tweaked later. Go ahead and master it and hop into a training room.
Sure. Do you want to look at the equipment first or no?
Sure. First 2 on plane ones, sure. Additional attack time on the torpedo planes. Why?
Yeah. Because I personally like torping things rather than the attack than using the rocket planes.
No, I understand that, but why do you need 15 seconds to torp something instead of 10?
I don't think you do, but I think it's more useful than. Oh, sorry, no, I have a good answer. Because you can abuse the green phase, so you can abuse the minus. Is it 30% flak damage?
So there was a time, and this is conjecture. This is not hard and fast information. There was a time in the before times where flak would not actually hit torpedo planes that were low to the water, or if it did, I sure as fuck didn't feel like it did. So having the additional attack time meant you could actually come in low on the water all the way through AA and not have to worry about flak. And then there was a patch where they fucked that up, and then suddenly you took flak damage even if you were on the water. So the additional attack time meant you could start your attack outside of AA range, slide underneath it. Yeah, you take some continuous to the face, but then you get to drop. I don't know if that's still the case, and I haven't tested it extensively. I just know that you can get hurt by flak still. So if you take that mod, that's for the FDR so you can turn, or maybe the British plane so you can turn. On the Midway, we can test that out in a training room if it goes under the flak, but otherwise, you are so non-maneuverable in Midway torpedo planes, which we'll go over in a training room, that having additional time is likely just, I mean, it's nice, I guess, but it's not going to result in anything. Or it shouldn't result in anything unless there's a cool trick that I don't know about, which is possible. Okay, attack time on the rockets doesn't matter. Torpedo aerial torp mod makes them faster. Technically, that does increase your lockout time. It theoretically helps against a maneuvering target. So if the target turns away, the torps, once they've armed, they cross the additional distance faster. So that's a thought, but you don't need it. The torp time is fine. Some people like to take the additional time because they don't want the increased lockout range on the torpedoes. And then obviously secondaries, who gives a shit. So, cool. So we got the time locked in, rockin'. Bomb health, why?
Because I see the bombs as a very useful tool. Honestly, if I could take extra bomb time here, I would, but you can't. I see the bombs to be the kind of the bread and butter of the Midway's damage output because they're very consistent.
I can go with that. I like the bombs. It's what I personally choose. Rockets are not a bad choice if you want to try to battleship bust with Tiny Tims, if that's a routine part of your kit or your interaction. Torpedoes are okay as well because you obviously have a heal, but I, like you, like to accent the highlight of the US line, which is its bombers. So I fully agree with that choice. Then we have Flight Mod in slot 5. That's perfectly okay. Consumable might be useful in a competitive setting for longer duration fighters, spotting protection, and then also a longer heal for when you're getting your ass kicked by coordinated AA. And then for slot 6, you have increased speed as opposed to increased health. Why?
Yes. Because I believe speed is power, and I'll explain. I believe that the more speed you have, the less time you spend in AA auras. Um, the obviously the quicker you get to a target, the more damage you can output, which is pressure on the map, which is presence in the map. For right or wrong, that's just what I think.
It's correct. Speed is influence. Health is resource nurturing. So health does two things. Makes you a little more resistant to flak, i.e. the flak doesn't rip away as much health compared to your full health as it would otherwise. So if you have 2,000 health, you take 1,800 in flak damage, then 200 damage kills your plane. Whereas if you have 2,200 health, you take 1,800 flak damage, 400 damage kills your plane. So it's better relative to flak. And also, the additional 0.7 or 7.5% could be the difference between losing 4 planes and losing 5 planes. And if that small marginal difference nurtures one additional plane home, then that's another plane that gets to turn around and get used again. But speed does reduce AA interaction because you get through a little faster, and it helps you dodge flak, and it's map influence. I prefer speed. I agree with this choice. Let's go into a training room.
Sure.
I like armor resilience test. Yeehaw. So, let's add a Montana that's armed. Well, just add ships. It doesn't matter. Not non-armed ships.
Moving?
No, because they won't move if they can't shoot. They'll just sit there.
Okay.
You can just click the button a few times and put a few of them in down. Cool. Good enough. Ready, up, and go. Okay, so first off, we're going to look at just basic Midway mechanics. I don't know what your skill on the Midway is, but we can do this as a baseline because I know that's what you're interested in learning before we go into randoms.
Sure.
So, first things first, we'll do bombs. Torps are going to be the interesting one, but we're going to start out with bombs.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right. 100 ping. Sad times, man.
Yeah, it's just what I get.
Well, I think somebody mentioned that, like, what are you, East Coast Australia is pretty significantly far away from the Southeast server. Okay, so don't touch any boost. Just point yourself in a direction and look in the direction you're going. So, all right. First, we're going to do cruise control, which I don't know if I've done with you before. So I want you to speed up until you get to the max speed, which I think is 167. It might be 174. Oh, 179, and let go. Let go. So, you went a little farther, like, so you went all the way up, and then you kind of held it down. So we're going to let it fully regen, and we're going to use this concept. You're going to run it up to 179, and let go as soon as you hit 179. Let go. And we're going to let it regen all the way back to the top and see where it is. At the top of the regen, it was 144. 141 is your base. So let's try to cruise control. Let's run all the way up to 179, and then let it go down to 144, kick back up to 179, and see what it regens down to. Because theoretically, you could slowly add knots if it doesn't fully deplete.
Mhm.
Well, you didn't go back up for 144. You gotta be on it, man. Up to 179, down to 144, back up to 179, etc. There you go. Up. Nice. Back off. Good. What it goes down to now, which is 144. So that's where it's basically going to sit. So using this technique, you're going to go an average of 144 to 175, which is 15 difference, about 160. So you're going to lose about 15 knots. But you have boost all the way across the map infinitely. So when you get to a target, you can strike twice, and you have 20 full seconds of boost, which should be more than enough to be able to penetrate AA, take a strike, spin around, and do a second strike. So I want you to go over, and I want you to hit bomb the Montana. And let's look at what that looks like. But use cruise control while you do there. Granted, it's very easy to lose track of this bullshit as the fight is on, and you know, blood gets up. You just start running it down, and you're like, son of a bitch! I mean, you have boost consumables for if you're in a situation where, holy shit, I need boost now. And don't ever be afraid to use a boost consumable if it's going to help you strike, because if you just spent 30 to 45 seconds going from point A to point B, then by God, make it matter.
Yeah.
Okay. I want you to bomb the Montana twice. I want you to bomb it, turn around, and bomb it again. I want you to go into bomb it again, but I want you to change the reticle. I want you to put the reticle dead center on the ship.
Dead center, okay.
Correct. So the reticle is going to interact where you tell it. Now, some interactions are wrong, like on the Japanese ships. The reticle actually doesn't go where it kind of supposed to go. So you want to put the reticle dead ship, or middle of the ship, because you're finishing your aim, and then you're continuing to linger and then drop. So there, you finish your aim, you drop. You're not lingering in short-range AA getting your ass kicked. When you put the reticle a little in front, then you had to drag it on, which is another half second of taking basically 600 to 700 damage into the face. Not to mention whatever damage you're taking from other ships. All right, so there's another thing we need to work on here, which is your follow-up movement. So go ahead and recall. Well, yeah. And we're going to hit a Kremlin, so go ahead and out in your bombers. Alright, so the thing with this is, when you're going in on the Kremlin, as soon as you click release, I want you to think in your head of a light bulb. Light bulb kind of has the light bulb shape to it. As soon as you release, you're going to start left turning. As your bombs hit, you're going to start right turning. And you're going to swing around and come in on the Kremlin, because you can still control your planes even while the bombs are dropping. And you are going to watch the bombs drop, because you're not taking AA damage while that's happening, and you want as many interactions on a battleship as you can. So you could theoretically bomb a battleship 3 times if you pull this off really well. So, full speed in on a Kremlin, start your strike. Good. Soon as you release, hold down left. Left, 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 slam on the brakes, start going right. Start going right, start going right, swing around. And after you get halfway through, I want you to start accelerating. Pull the reticle on the target, accelerate. Now notice, right as your bombs come off cooldown, you can almost start that strike. You could have done that better, do it again. Hard to the left, hard to the left, hard to the left. Start pulling to the right, and notice you're out of boost. So you need boost to be able to pull off maneuvers so that you can do this. The faster you strike, the less AA you take. The more planes are alive, the more damage you do. So if you ever come across an isolated battleship, this is easily 2, possibly 3 bombing runs, especially like if it's a Yamato, for instance. So recall, we'll do it again to the next Kremlin.
Oh, okay.
Just recall, yeah. So cruise control over, because you've used your boost consumables, so we don't have that active. So we need to use boost as we can. Okay, and we're starting to enter AA range, so just start accelerating to go in on the Kremlin. Okay, you juke and flak, you're doing the thing, you're cutting in around 3.5, woo. Reticle is set, awesome, start your attack. As soon as you drop, hard to the left, hard to the left, hard to the left, hard to the left. Slam on the brakes, hard to the right. And let go of the... Okay, accelerate, accelerate, accelerate. Get it back on target. Much better. Much better. Start your attack. Now, at this point, you don't have enough boost for a second run, but what do you have? You have 2 attacks in. How much boost did you use to get 2 attacks? You used 1 bar worth of boost. If you cruise control over your target, you don't have to use an engine boost consumable for it. Well, what if you have a 3rd strike? You have an engine boost consumable. What if there are more interactions? You have additional boost at the ready. If you need to use it, use it. Don't think about it. But practice being ready to swing in to get the 2nd strike while you can. Now this is important because we're about to start using torpedoes. And it's very easy to get into the same trap of hard turning and starting a strike while using torps. So once you finish this bombing run, we'll torp the Hindenburg, one of them or whatever. So the Midway torpedo planes are finicky in that you have to set a line and you can't fuck with it. They de-aim poorly if you turn, and they don't like turning to begin with. So what I want you to do right now is I want you to hard turn over toward the Hindenburg, and before you finish turning, I want you to left click. So click now. Because I want you to keep moving that reticle, and you saw just how little bit it slid off to the right, yeah?
Oh my god.
Yeah, that fucking sucks, doesn't it? Because you've de-aimed the reticle because you moved it.
Drop it or no?
Yes, you can. It doesn't matter. See, this is the other reason that 15 seconds is a long time. So now I want you to turn, and I want you to sight on the Hindenburg and then attack.
From what range do you like at starting your attack run from?
I tend to do it at 3.55 because hopefully to go under the last flak wall, I don't approach from outside of AA. So
Interesting.
I fly to juke flak up until about 3.6 and then start the attack run, so I sink under the last flak wall to come in and make the strike. All right, so look at the Hindenburg, stop turning, and then attack. Okay. It's much more responsive. And even then, you still moved. Now, ideally, Midway torpedo planes are for anti-battleship stuff. Now, remember the light bulb thing. You could have already been doing the light bulb thing. There's no reason to fly all the way out here just to turn around and fly all the way back. You can immediately go back in. Now, yes, you need some distance when you're going to be using the torpedo planes, but you could immediately already be positioning for the follow-up strike. So what we're going to do is we're going to strike the hipper, go in on hipper, start accelerating. There's no reason to slow down. Cool. You're going to take the drop. You're going to keep accelerating off to the left, keep accelerating off to the left, off to the left, slam on the brakes hard to the right, start doing the light bulb thing, start wrapping in. Finish completing your turn before you start your attack, and then start accelerating hard in. Notice you're still within 3.5 at that, so you're not eating flak walls, you're immediately re-engaging the target. You have 2 options for when you can heal. You can heal on the way in initially, or you can heal while you're sitting in short to mid-range AA, making the turn. The second option is better, but if you take flak, it is what it is. Let's go in and hit Kuznetsov doing the same thing. Strike, accelerate through the strike, accelerate off to the left, slam on the brakes to tighten your turn, and cut over to the right. Do the light bulb motion, set your line before you attack. Because if you don't, if you're even 10 degrees off, the amount of reticle slide that goes over to put it on its line will de-aim the reticle for like 5 seconds worth of aiming time, and it's just sluggish and miserable and shit. So you're just kind of stuck having to deal with that. So ideally we would be striking Kuznetsov because you'll strike him twice, but whatever.
Oh,
So
I'm sorry.
it's
I'm
fine.
sorry, I
Accelerate
spaced
off
out.
left, slam on the brakes, hard turn, hard turn, hard turn, hard turn, hard turn. You don't want to go outside of 3.5. You want to stay within mid-range because, well, okay, you're going for the other dude. Let's just recall and go on the Hindenburg, Kuznetsov. So you have the 9 planes. So when you get to about 6 kilometers, start accelerating like you're doing flak jukes at around 3.6. Once you have your, you can swing in, set your line, and start your attack on the Hindenburg. So pretend you're juking flak. You're burning boost early, but it's okay. So Hindenburg's AA is at 5.2. So set your line. Well, you can't set the line, and you would turn in around now is where you would turn in. You'd start your attack at 3.6. Do the thing. Cool. Accelerate through. Take the drop. Accelerate. Swing off to the left. Slam on the brakes to the right. Slam on the brakes to the right. Slam on the brakes to the right. Okay, you touch outside of mid-range, and you can swing right back in. You want now see there, you started your attack, and it slid over. Good thing is, you're still able to recover in terms to get the strike, but you de-aimed for about 3 seconds worth of time there. So if you're going out on a battleship that's moving or whatever, you know, setting that line before you left click is extremely important. But that's basically it. Rocket planes are rocket planes. You've used them 1,000 times. So these are the two things you need to know for the Midway if you're going to get extensive strikes into isolated targets. You can go ahead and back out. We could go into a random if you want. Sure. Or, actually, we'll stay in the training room. We'll do one more thing.
Okay.
Hey, Hans. Hello, everybody in chat. Let's see. We're doing a coaching session with Porky. I don't know if he's streaming at the moment, but
No, I'm not. I finished streaming like an hour ago, I think.
Cool. All right, so I want you to remove all the training bots, and I want you to add one after, which will be a Montana that's armed.
Okay.
Not
Does
moving.
the AI level matter?
Not moving. No, the AI doesn't change anything.
Okay.
There you go. Add it, and then we can do the thing. Cool. So first things first, set your carrier to reverse, because the Montana's going to shoot at you. It won't last very long, but, you know, whatever. And you can also hard turn, you know, yeah, quarter is cool, and just slam it in reverse, rockin'. So let's do bombing run technique. So we're going to see what it looks like to penetrate flat clouds and go in. Ideally, when you're going in through flak, you're not just going in a straight line. You know, you're kind of curving in so you can take the shot. We'll see what that is. So we'll start off with bombers. It's cruise control till you get to about 8 kilometers. Then you can kind of let your boost firm up. Let go boost. You're going to let it charge in. You're going to start accelerating at 6 kilometers. So accelerate now and start juking flak on your way in. So first flak is fired. So you turned in a little too early. You want to make sure you're placing it off. Cool. So we took some. Cool. Take your drop. As you drop, you're going to hard off to the left, hard off to the left, hard off to the left. Slam on the brakes and start cutting back into the right. Okay. And hard accelerate in on the Montana. So we slung pretty far away there. The deeper you are in your dive, the further your planes are going to run away from your target before you can turn back in. So in some cases, it might actually be easier to put the reticle on the end of the ship and spin around. So let's do that. Let's wait. We need 12 planes.
Oh, sorry.
You can just go ahead and recall. You could stop reversing. I think you should be safe. Alright, so don't be afraid to use an engine boost if you have to. You know, we want to get the best of the two interactions. You turned in on the Montana too quickly. There's, okay, so we're going to cross 6 kilometers. And the flak gunner is going to be like, hey, planes, and then shoot. So you need to give it about half a second to a second before you make your first evasive turn, because that's how long it takes to place the first flak cloud. So if you just immediately turn in, then you just walk into a flak wall. So cool, stop using your boost. We're going to start hard accelerating around 7 kilometers, and remember that you want to kind of be turning or avoiding flak clouds. So start burning in. Okay. Slam on the brakes, slam on the brakes, slam on the brakes. So if you drop hard to the left, slam on the brakes, keep turning to the right, finish the light bulb maneuver. Engine boost, full speed. So engine boost consumable would get you in here faster, so you're not lingering in AA. You get the second drop. Okay, good enough. Let's leave the training room and restart another one and do the same thing with torpedo planes.
Okay.
So it's a technique you refine over time.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we could also have you bomb a destroyer. Might be worth doing. You just ready up and go. It's all set. This has almost been an hour in itself. My apologies.
That's fine. It's all valuable. It's all really good information.
Okay, so torpedo planes, you already know. If you want, you can start your attack from outside of AA and use your long range, NIS to go in. That's up to you. If you're going to run through the flak, then you're going to be dodging until 3.6-ish, then start your attack. So you're dodging until 3.6. You're looking not at the ship, because that last flak wall is going to get placed between you and the ship if you're staring at it. And it stops aiming the flak wall at 3.5. So by 3.6, you're looking away from your intended target, like you're playing hard to get with some hot girl in a bar. But at 3.5, 3.45, you're now looking at your target because you decided, yeah, I want me a piece of that. So swing off to the left. Oh, okay, you're doing the long range thing. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. It's all good. Slam on the brakes, hard turn.
Oh, it's too close.
No, it's not too close. You're fine.
I did it again.
Yeah, there's the overslide, and that's extremely hard to recover, so that's okay. You'll get some planes to come back, and you can try it again. It's really easy to do that reflexively, but you have to remember that if you do that in a midway, you don't get to recover. If you do it in an Audacious, you can. If you do it in the FDR, you can. If you do it in the Hakuryu, it's not great, but you can recover. Midway? No. Midway, you have a lot of damage potential, but it's limited in its attack pattern. And Sight Stab is going to make it 7.5% faster, but you don't need it to be faster. You just need to hold a line, catch the line, and stay on it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't use the heal going in, use the heal during your attack turn for the second strike.
I see. I think I understand.
Because you're going to be lingering in short to medium range AA. Like here, you're going through long range, which is low damage. Then you're touching mid-range briefly, and then you drop. But on the return strike, you are lingering in AA. Little early on the heel? No, it's okay. Set your line, then start the attack. Good. Very good. And just accelerate in and hit them. Now remember, if the enemy ship is moving, it's going to be much harder to do that. So you'll have to mentally set the line before you make the strike. But the fundamentals are the same. Okay, cool. You play random or co-op if you wanted to. I think it'd be random. Unless you wanted to bomb a DD.
Um,
Hit no. Let's replace the Montana with a gearing. And you can leave it armed if you want, because then it'll reveal itself. Make it unarmed and just like spam the button. So just add like 12 of them or whatever and hit ready. It's fine. I mean, you're not gonna bomb them all. Just mostly so that you're not fishing around. Once you see one of them, you have a good idea as to where the others are, so you can hit battle. Okay, so bombing. Back in patch 8.3, I think it was, bombs used to fall in the center of the reticle because, I mean, that would make sense, right? And it would disperse outward. Unfortunately, that meant you could bitch slap destroyers because you would just bomb the ever-living fuck out of them, and that would be hilarious. So they changed it so that some of the bombs are weighted on the outside of the reticle, or rather, you could think of it as bombs aim for the outside but disperse inward. So you shouldn't expect many to be in the center. There's two ways to think of it. So we can we'll go over and you can bomb a gearing that's just stationary, center reticle, and then bomb off to the side a little bit. Now theoretically, there's more outside area than there is inside area. So there's more chance to miss if you bomb on the outside. But more bombs exist in the outside, so it's likely that it results in a better yield. It's not consistent. It's never been consistent. So anybody that tells you that you do this and you just auto-blap DDs is lying, because it's based in RNG. But if you set yourself up to be able to have an interaction, then, you know, you're more likely to have some form of success. So bomb one of the gearings, center reticle. You don't have to do it pretty, you just have to do it. You can bomb high, you can bomb low, it doesn't matter. So the gearing's pretty large. Center reticle, you can see how much of the ship is in there. We hit 2, cool. And you go ahead and do that one more time, and then we'll try an off reticle technique. While
on
you're
the center again, yeah?
Yeah, in the center. So while you're doing this, I want you to imagine the gearing in that center. If you can almost see it, like if there were 3 gearings stacked side by side, how they would just about fill the reticle, right? Well, let's bomb another gearing, but pretend it's on the left side of that reticle. Not in the center, but biased off to the left. So we'll do that. And really, left, right, it doesn't matter. You're just using the edge of the reticle, and you're trying to get as much edge on the target as possible. Or I shouldn't say edge, maybe I mean outside. So it's in the reticle, cool. Yep, there you go. You even kind of used the line for it. Now you see we had 4 bombs drop on the right side and only 1 drop on the left. Sucks to be you. But it could have been 4 bombs dropping on the side with the DD in it. So you don't have a way to guarantee one thing or the other thing, but if you're setting yourself in a position where more bombs might interact with the target, then cool.
Oh, that wasn't really it. Oh!
Yeah, so there you go. You got 5. So you don't control the situation, but what you can do is try to set yourself up for success. Also, there might be some kind of snapshotting when the bombs drop as to like relative to the target, but I don't know. I don't think that's a thing. Just pattern recognition in my head. So let's do 2 more off-angle or off-reticle bombs, just so you can kind of get the feel of it, as in where to place it. And obviously, if the DDs are moving, you know, you have to account for movement patterns when lining the drop. But you know, at least you can kind of see what you're looking for to be able to have those interactions.
Oh, that wasn't really it.
So it's not, again, there's no magic sweet spot. You're just trying to find what works for you. But ideally, you'd like the edge of the reticle to be hugging the ship hull. You know, you want everything in the green, but you want that edge of the reticle to be like relevant to the side of where it's going. There we go. So, well, so that's bombing. Cruisers, realistically, to hurt a cruiser, you need like 5 bombs into it, and you just can't guarantee it, because a cruiser is like not that much larger than a gearing, depending on what the cruiser is. And the amount of damage you're doing to a cruiser with 3 to 4 bombs almost feels not enough. However, any damage on a destroyer matters. So, cool. We can go and recall. We could do a random battle or two.
Especially against a destroyer like a Gearing that doesn't have a heal.
Well, yeah. I mean, most destroyers don't have heals, but it's just, if you think of like relative health pool, if you do 20,000 damage to a battleship and it has 100,000 health, you just took 20% of its health. If you do 4,000 damage to a DD, that's 20% of its health. So both of those feel impactful. But you have to get 6 bombs into a battleship, you have to get 1 bomb into a DD. And it's possible you get 2, right? Whereas a cruiser, that's going to be like in between with 50,000 health, if you do 4,000, it feels, it's what, 8%? So you have to get like 3 bombs at a minimum to kind of notice that something happened. A lot of cruisers at tier 10 have heals anyway. So it just, you have to get a lot of bombs in to make it feel impactful, and you can't guarantee that that happens, which sucks. Often you just kind of whiff. You'll hit some, but rare. Also, cruisers saturate probably a little better than DDs do, so they take reduced damage from the ones that hit. You can go. You can do the thing.
You guys ready to see typical SCA MM at this hour?
Wisconsin, do the bomb drops occur outside dead center of the reticle? Is that why he's leaning to one side? Yes, Bogey. It was changed so that the bombs don't land in the dead center, because then you could bingo very small, delicate targets. They're dispersed across the reticle forcibly. So 4 of the bombs, I think, drop kind of more toward the outside area, and 2 of them drop kind of in the inside area. But in general, it's just a dispersion formula. So he's using the outside of the reticle because theoretically more bombs exist in the outside, as opposed to bombing in the center, where at best he might get 2 on average. Or even just none, because he might miss.
Yep, that's a thing.
Battle starts.
My mic's died. Am I back?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So how do you like to, do you use the boost and then let it drain, yeah?
Burn boost all the way down and then let it regen, because every time you let go of the key, you have a half second where you're not regenning boost. So the more that you tap it, the more you're reducing its ability to recover. So while crossing the map, you just burn it all and then let it come back. Burn it all, then let it come back, and you're halfway. Once you pass halfway, don't blow your boost, because you might get trapped by Holland AA or, you know, some kind of surprise motherfucker condition. So let's drop a fighter in Charlie. So we did kind of a little lumbering turn there that didn't result in anything. If you drop a fighter on Charlie, the fighter's going to be able to spot as the planes move forward. Meanwhile, you're off doing something else. You're scouting, Bravo, etc. And when you start to see battleships is when you're on the edge of the AA of cruisers. So unless you're moving in to engage something, once you see a battleship, don't be dipping farther in, because then you're just going to lose health for free. You might as well shoot the Haragumo if you can. Remember, it's 3.5 seconds in lead time, which is about a boat and a half. Good. 2, 3, whatever. Shoot. It worked out pretty well. It's not that it's done a ton of damage, but it's more than nothing. And there is a fighter that will latch, but you'll be able to take a shot, which I think you nail a little piece of the tail end. So probably bombs. Why bombs? Because you can harass the Haragumo unless he smokes, and there is a second DD that will probably be entering a cap soon. Although it's a small end, so he might actually be looking to gunboat.
So he smoked.
Okay, well, cool. So there's a Venezia you could try to bomb. There's, I think, what, is that a Republic? Republique over on the side? With a Stalingrad, that's kind of a bitch.
Yeah.
Would be good to find the second DD. Also, you probably want to drop a fighter over the Shimikaze, or at least over Charlie. You don't have to drop it directly on top of the Shimikaze, because that just says, hey, there's a fighter here. But if you drop it kind of on C, then 1, it is latent protection for the Shima, 2, it is spotting.
Mm-hmm.
Some CV people, when they see the fighter, they immediately assume destroyer. So it's nice. If the destroyer's not revealed, then you don't necessarily want to say, hey, I'm over here. On the Republic? Yeah. Okay, so that's a little bit too straight of an attack run. You want to place your flak better than that. It's a good turn away from the Stalingrad. You do not attack again. You can't. You have 4 planes, you don't make it. And also you needed to not recall there. At least you found the Smolensk, so that's actually pretty cool. If you're recalling an AA, you can see all those planes are dead. Why? Because they ate a flak bubble. So if you were almost clear of the AA of the Republic, then you just leave the AA and then recall, and then you guarantee your planes get back. Now, obviously, there was a small in there, so maybe it would have killed him anyway, but we didn't know that at the time, so you operate on the assumptions that you have. But it was good that you spotted the Smolensk, which is nice. Stay on the Repub. Drop a fighter to spot him. Okay, so fighters spawn all the way up in the clouds, which means they see over islands temporarily. As long as it's close enough to be able to spot something, which... Hard turn to the left, 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 away from the small and away from the AA. Yeah, so we're using the slingshot to get the fuck out so we don't just lose planes for free. And you can strike on the Repub again. Lead. You need to lead more than that. 2, 3, Okay, bombs, yes, good. He's too close to the torpedo, too close to islands for good torp hits. Open water would be better. Just because you'd have attack lines, although the Shimikaze might end up golf clapping him, depending. If the Repub is still there, or doesn't, if the Repub dies before you get there, you can look for the small end.
Okay. Because
the small end could make a run on the Shimikaze, as the small end has radar and could attack from like above the island where he's safe from return gunfire. And there he is. So let's put some pressure on the small end. Try to come in from behind him so you can track. Don't put the reticle on the target, put the reticle in front of the target. Good. Slam on the brakes, slam on the brakes. So it is absolutely possible to overshoot a DD. So don't be afraid to slam on the brakes if they're slowing down as well. Engine boost. Use your consumable. Minute is just gonna get shit dead.
That was an awful attack.
Yeah, so after you dropped the small end, you coasted into the AA of the Des Moines. Be aware of your surrounding. Be ready to turn away from incoming AA to set yourself up for return strikes. Always be thinking of what's the next strike and how do you position relative to it. So 1, minimize AA while you watch your bombs dropping. Look at the map, minimize the AA you're putting yourself into, and also think about what the next strike is. You can drop a fighter halfway into C. So if the small end wants to cap, he has to shoot down the planes. Nice. Engine boost. Hard left away from the Des Moines. Well, okay. Kind of fishing in the middle there. That works too. Keeping them lit. It's only a single plane. Bombs.
Oh, okay.
Well, you're not going to torp a small end, and nothing else matters right now. The small end is what matters. Until the small end gets dealt with, C is under threat. That's enemy points. 2, your cruisers can't move forward, because your small can be spotted when it moves, because there's a DD. Your Moskva can't move undetected. You know, there's no moving forward if there's a DD between you and the enemy, and you don't have fuck all to deal with it about. So, if you unlock your teammates, they can start to do something that's hopefully not stupid, but it just kind of is what it is. Just go hard. Get on top of the small end. You have an engine boost if you have to. You want resets. Fighter, 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 fighter. There you go. So the reason is if you're pointing straight north, your fighter spawns north of you, which means it can light the DD before you get there. So then you know where to drop, right? You just want to leave AA. Don't try to drop again. So it's kind of an advanced trick, I suppose. But if you're pointing straight north, the fighter will spawn straight north of you. If you're pointing straight south, the fighter will spawn straight south of you.
Okay.
So rather than wait for the DD to render, you could see where the hell it is.
Mm-hmm.
Des Moines might be in a position to help with the small end soon. It'd be pretty cool. Be nice if anybody shot at the small end other than you. So, sucks to waste time on the small end, but at the same time, you're still trying to unlock teammates here. And you're not gonna go all the way to the A and B line to fuck with some shit. So, good hits. Good job with the follow-up turn. Good job getting away from AA. Now you've got a Des Moines on top of this bitch. Or maybe, you know, Minotaur from center. You can absolutely go back in on this, try to assure the kill. The only thing that matters is the small end until it's dead. Good lead. Torps. So you're low on bombs, but you do have torps, and they're starting to push, which means they're showing you sides. So you could torp the Venezia, you could torp a Conqueror. There's a lot of AA there, which sucks. But you have the ability to interact with it. You guys still have 2 caps to 1, so you're up a pretty safe amount of points, and your health leads are in shouting distance of each other, which is nice. However, you don't have a DD on this side. Remember the 2-point talent we took that gave you additional fighters? It's for spotting. That's for now. So, drop the fighter now, all the way down here, because there's a Petropavlovsk with 6.6 kilometer AA, so we can see 7.1 away. So the fighter would be murdered if you go closer. And you could start your attack, just don't be afraid to heal as you're going across. You can't drop the Petra, you have to go through the Conqueror. Wait? No, you have to go to the Conqueror.
Oh.
You might get something there. Hard turn on the Petro. Petro's the weaker shot. So he's hugging the island, so you don't have... Nah. Started your attack and you slid in, you can't do that. You have to catch your line and then start the attack. You get 1 torp there. It's a problem because they're all on top of each other. I don't know. It's a hard target. I think at this point you just spot. Because the Venezia is moving in, he's closing in. You could strike the Conqueror from the 10 line. Approach from outside the AA death bubble instead of trying to fly across it. You can't bomb this because you're going to sit in short range AA and there's too many assholes there. So it's torps from the 10 line. Don't fly across the enemy ships.
I did the thing.
Did the thing?
I didn't cruise control. Actually, the Petro's kind of exposing himself. Is he a good target, do you think, or no?
Possibly, but he should be dead before you get there because he's fucking himself.
I see.
So he's eating all sorts of stuff from sea, plus he's being shot from the south. He's kind of fucked. Once the Petro goes down, you can look at lines, you know, least timelines where you don't have to go around the asshole. You can just go over his dead body. In which case, yes, now you could go after the Conqueror. Venezia has an extreme amount of turning and a smoke, which can allow him to turn if he wants to. You go for the Conqueror because he doesn't have that. Engine boost. Engine boost. Yeah. Strat says efficiency. I say engine boost. There you go. Nice drop. Could lead a little more, but he's hard turning. No, recalling's fine. You didn't have enough planes to go around a second time. As you can see, they're all dead. And you can start pushing because you guys are fairly in the lead. Just make sure you have your bow pointed. No. Not all the way to the halfway point of the map, but you can start moving more aggressively with your bow pointing at the enemy. Don't be afraid to be in the open water taking shells, because if they're shooting you, they're not shooting your teammate. But you need to make sure that your bow is pointed toward the threat. So like if you point straight up the 5 line, for instance, if you are lit and you take some Montana shells or Petro shells, they'll slip off your deck.
Mhm.
So I just, when you click to like E5, well, you're not trying to ram them, but you can move up to advance closer. Generally, I recommend being about 1 grid square away from the front line. Now, you could, of course, try to ram it home onto an island to efficiency, ram your planes through, but you don't have a lot of planes. You've used them. So attacking faster just means you can murder your pilots more quickly and then sit there with no planes. So it's not necessarily about attacking faster, it's about attacking well. Good shit.
This is just such a foreign way to play. It's really interesting to learn this.
Do a pre-drop torps if it's a one-way trip. Don't put more assets on the line than you have to. Stalingrad is the focus target. Focus what people are killing. You need them dead, not your team dead. Stalin is dead. Good. And Immelman's moving up. Yoshino is the strike. Petra has too much armor. You have 33 mil pen on your rockets. Yoshino has 30 mil in the mid. So at this point, being behind the island doesn't do much for your team. I guess you win off points, so it doesn't matter. But you actually kind of want to expose yourself. But right now, you're lit by enemy planes. You're broadside to a Stalingrad and a Petro. Sorry, a Yoshino and a Petro. You could have just been dev struck there. So you need to focus on having your bow pointed toward the enemy unless you're specifically moving in a specific way for a specific reason. And you win by points.
Yeah.
So in this case, you provided a lot of utility. You dealt with the DD, which was obnoxious. But you still end up with 106 because you have damage potential there. It's just you got tied up dealing with something. And I just did 8 hours of Oklahoma play. And the amount of frustration when your DD derps off to go fucking die somewhere in the middle of nowhere doing nothing, meaning that all I can do is run away because I can't spot their DD. I can't do anything here. When your front line fails and they have a front line, then your side that has no front line gets to run because that's all they can do. Maybe they can get a radar off. Maybe somebody just fucking YOLOs in a bizarre way. But if your team, all they can do is run away, then you're giving map space, you're giving them firing positions, and you're giving away health at the same time. So yes, you could put some damage into a battleship or some damage into a cruiser, but unless it's going to unlock something really critical in the map, dealing with the front line is important. Now, note, that's not for all carriers because not all carriers are Midway with high explosive bombs or responsive rockets. Like if you're in a Hakuryu, I think you told me there are some people that like hunting DDs with torpedo planes. I mean, props to them.
Yeah.
But if the torps don't land, you're just wasting time. So it depends on what the strengths of the carrier are, and your strength as a Midway is beating the ever-living fuck out of battleships and the ability to excellently harass destroyers. You have a weakness in cruisers because they could outturn your torps. Your torp spread is large enough that you're not going to get all 6 into a cruiser easily. Your reticle is too large to effectively beat the shit out of a cruiser. Your rockets can interact with them, but they're fairly fragile and you run out. So your strengths are battleships and DDs. And it's how you work that's going to be how you express yourself as a Midway. You can play again.
Okay. I just wasn't sure. I didn't want to jump in another one and be like, hey.
Whatever. Rar.
Yeah. See, it's really weird. Like, if I was playing solo, I probably wouldn't have 130 plus and lost, which is really interesting. But
well,
yeah, this is really cool.
So I operate under a foundational principle that teammates are not trash. So that's obviously not always correct. And there are times on stream where you hear me slamming the table or swearing profusely or, raging angrily at a pixel on the screen. But in general, a Bismarck is going to do Bismarck things. They're going to sail somewhere, they're going to take a lot of damage, they're going to shoot at enemies. So cruisers are going to do cruiser things, DDs are going to do DD things. So if you just read the map, if your 3 cruisers in the south, if your Smolensk can't move forward to smoke up and shoot anything because he doesn't know if he's in the smoke firing of Smolensk, well, all he can do is run. So then you just cede that half of the map. Fuck. If your Moskvas sit there, stuck there, unable to turn, unable to maneuver because he's lit by a Smolensk, fuck. It's just there are considerations that you have the ability to affect things. But yes, the rocket nerfs removed your ability to run around just curb stomping destroyers. But that doesn't mean that you can't help your team. Because your team can shoot them, and they did there. You kept the Smolensk lit long enough that your team knew where the fuck the Smolensk was, and when they moved, they were ready to dumpster him, and they did, which was nice. Okay, so burn all your boost, let it regen, burn all your boost. Flying over the mountain is actually a loss of speed because you go a set speed, including if you go up or down. So you're losing horizontal speed if you're going up. So try not to fly over stuff if you can avoid it. You want to drop a fighter now. You don't want it to be so extremely above the left. You've already dropped a fighter. You don't need to go further into this. You're just going to go into AA. You want to continue with your scouting run. The only reason to not continue a scouting run is if you see an extremely juicy target, or if there's like 3 or 4 DDs and you have the ability to meaningfully affect them. Pressure CV, which is not a style that I teach, would mean that you fucking beat the shit out of the enemy faster than they beat the shit out of you, and that's how you win. But I'm going to tell you that is an extremely player-intensive style, and it responds to you finding any weakness in your team's position and executing on it immediately. And if the enemy doesn't give it to you, then you don't get it. So that's a style that only works when the enemy fucks up and allows you to kill them. So you've got a good scout off. You can dump some planes into the Des Moines. I would not strike here with all of the planes because now you lose them all. So if you're going to YOLO in this, just recall, they're dead. You probably want to pre-drop before you go in there. So there's 2 destroyers. We've seen the Daring. That's cool. So the Asashio is probably on like the 7 to 9 line. Should probably re-fighter Delta because the Shimikaze has decided to go jerk himself off on the 10 line.
Yeah.
So he's going to pleasure himself to dreams of broadsides and dev strikes while doing nothing other than that. Meanwhile, there's a Stalingrad that'll just radar him, so great. Your Lepanto, unfortunately, might be suiciding. Is he going to go against 3 ships? He's already popped his smoke. So
Wait, why do I have torps? Oh my gosh.
It's fine.
Oh
Drop
God.
your fighter. Drop your fighter. So you can either torp the Stalin or torp the Amagi. There's the Asashio. That's good to know. Amalfi has significant AA, but you could still strike the Amagi, which is probably the better choice.
Okay.
And your fighter also keeps the Asashio cock-blocked. He doesn't get to run around doing what he wants to do. So that's nice. Don't be afraid to heal once you've finished your strike, but wait a second before you hit the heal after you drop. Because you're still in slingshot. So don't heal, don't heal, don't heal, don't heal, don't heal, now heal, now heal. So you're healing up that 5th plane, and the heal even continues through your attack turn. Obviously you need to lead a little more, but such is life. He's gonna go behind the island, you don't get that shot.
Damn. I don't know what to do.
I mean, you just lose planes for free or you drop and bail. So drop and bail it is. Bomb the Stalingrad.
Okay.
Stalingrad is isolated. You might be able to use island cover to help out. The Jean Bart on top of the Amalfi is okay, but you're not going to do enough meaningful damage to stop them. Whereas you could potentially half health the Stalingrad and maybe stop him from just like YOLOing the fuck up. Or maybe you bomb the Asashio. Maybe you could work on the Asashio.
We'll do that.
It's up to you.
I mean, that's kind of hard because I slingshot into JB AA, right?
As soon as you drop, you hard turn off to the right. But I think the Asashio gets out. I don't think there's a kill there. Because you're just going to lose a bunch of planes underneath the Jean Bart AA. And you'd really have to get some pretty sexy hits to make it happen. Pop your engine boost. Don't fuck around with this. We should have talked about curling. Looks like you already kind of know that, though.
Did it poorly.
Hard brake, hard left. Hard brake, hard left.
Oh,
No
man.
light bulb, you're just turning left and you're chasing. Get in there again. As long as you don't eat flak, you're not utterly fucked. There's your second drop. Make it count. Should have led a little more. You can see we whiffed on the back end. Because there's drop, the time for the drop. Torpedoes into the BART. So you blunted the move on the Stalingrad, which is nice. So at least that's a delayed wrap. And at this point, it's a John Bart Amalfi, which is not fun, but it's definitely approachable. The question is, can you strike it twice? I don't think you can without a heal. So you may want to consider pre-dropping and simply strike the Jean Bart once.
Okay.
So if we look over on the other side, there's not really spotting over at the A cap either, so it'd probably be nice to give them some information, but you gotta win at least one flank. So it's kind of what's being worked on. And they do have a DD over there. They have a Benson, whereas our Shimikaze is just humping a rock. Pick your line, then go in. Don't maneuver during the attack. You can maneuver some, but you need to make sure you're picking a line and holding it. Lead more, lead more, lead more, lead more, lead more, lead more.
Didn't do the thing.
You probably get 4 torps there. You can bomb that. It's a one-way trip, though. You don't get multiple interactions. So, 2. So, if the ship's moving, you gotta lead it. So the question here is, do you go in with 6 bombs or do you go in with 9 bombs? Because you don't get to attract twice. No. John Bart's gonna kill 2 on its way in. Amalfi might kill 1, although the Amalfi's running away. You could possibly get through with 6, but if you eat some flak, if something goes on and you suddenly end up losing 4 planes, you know, 6 going down to 2 means you're not getting a full strike. So don't fuck with it, bring the extra resources, make sure you're gonna get through. Unless you feel absolutely comfortable. Don't aim at the ship while you're going in. Make sure you've got some kind of off angle so you can push the flak away from between you and the enemy ship. So you're coming in, you took some flak, you lost 2 coming in, potentially 3 before you drop. So we could have done the 6 and recall, because you don't get to strike again. Because it's two planes going in on a BART, as well as the Amalfi, it'll just shred planes, so... So it's just worth knowing that for pre-drop possibilities. You could have done it with 6, but if you bring 9, you guarantee that you get the strike.
Mm-hmm. So what's the play here?
Not to run over to A. You need to stay where you are. You have to break the stuff at D. You have to keep working on... You gotta win one flank, and there's way too many assholes over at A. You're just not gonna get kills there. So I think you keep working on the BART.
Islands.
Also, you need to be dropping fighters to give information to your team because you don't have a DD. So definitely drop a fighter now to keep the BART lit long range. And it's worth noting that the Stalin has started to move up again, so we may have to bomb him once more. You don't get 2 strikes on the BART, but you do want the additional planes because that makes your heal stronger. Engine boost, good stuff. Find your line, then go in, ride the line. Lead, 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 lead. That should be a kill. Bombs. Don't dick around with it. There's nothing else to drop. Stalingrad. Stalingrad is now presenting a broadside issue. It's for the Lepanto. Alsace and Ibuki are running. If we can deal with the Stalin, then we can sit on top of the Asashio and bomb him forever. We just need to have bombs left. But unfortunately, we are where we are, and we're using resources to get something done. Remember that the Stalingrad's defensive fire is going to be up. Can you right-click him, or like click on him and hit F3?
Attention, reporting the target position.
Like, hey guys, please give a shit. Because you can't bomb into all the stuff that's cluster-fucked at A. It's all on top of itself. You might be able to work on the Nope.
Oh my god.
Okay, we're gonna work on flak because you need to work on that. So that after this game, we're gonna talk about flak.
Yep.
I don't think you can torp the Stalin, so that's a waste of time. Go to the battleships in the north. This game is probably lost. You're down 180,000 health. You don't have any board position at D because your battleship's backed up. And I think both of your DDs are dead. They are. So, with the resources you have now, you just shoot bad guys until the end of the game.
Okay. That was much bad.
That was pretty painful. But shit happens, you know? Drop a fighter. I mean, you had planes coming in. There's no reason to not trap them. So, if you're against an enemy Midway, you go slightly faster than an FDR. You can trap FDR planes with a fighter consumable. So, you could force those planes to get shot by fighters. There's no reason not to. As long as you use your heal well, you probably get 2 strikes, but you need to drop the Iowan hard turn to the south and around. You need to strike from this angle twice. Lead, 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 lead. More. There you go. That's the line. Hard left, hard left, hard left, hard left. Ideally, you have boost so you can burn away from the enemy ships. Alright, so we want a tighter reticle when we drop, but that's really where you need to lead on the targets. It's a... Think of it this way. When you shoot your HVARs, you know how far you have to lead, right? That's 3.5 seconds. These torps take 7 seconds to hit their target. So think of what you lead for a Tiny Tim and add 2 seconds. That's where you're gonna lead. It's a significant amount of time. You don't have to speed up the torps. It's not a problem with the torps being slow. It's just that's how you lead Midway torpedoes. So pick your line, cool. Lead a little more, because you want to stay on a line all the way to the drop. You don't want to keep correcting. You want to pick a line and be there, and now you can drop there. Drop, drop, drop. You're a little too close. He's actually going to dead some of those torps because the green line was too close to the ship.
Oh.
So you hit all 4, or all 6, but only 2 actually armed because the green line was too close to the hull. They didn't arm. Oh, sorry, you hit 5 out of 6. My apologies. The other thing you have to remember with torpedoes is the higher the planes are when they drop the torpedo, there's time from point A to point B for it to actually drop into the water, so that adds to your lead time. So that actually can kind of fuck with you.
Oh.
Can't win them all.
No. That was rough.
Even if you had successfully beat the shit out of the Stalingrad or something, you still lose over at A. And what could you as a carrier do against the death blob at A? Nothing, which sucks. Because that's the limitation of a carrier. People say carriers are OP. They could do this, they could do that. They could choose whatever target they want. You couldn't have fixed A. You don't have the power to do that. You can't. You might have been able to bomb the Daring, and if the Daring was dead, maybe they take different positions, but you just don't have a way in. Go to the training room.
Sure. No, go away, friend.
Okay, so we're going to talk about flak. You can just go ahead and do the Midway, because we're still doing Midway stuff. And I want you to add a Wooster. A Wooster that is armed. And we're going to consistently just use this ship as kind of a base test bed. No, actually, let's change this. Let's remove the Wooster for an initial understanding. Let's remove the Wooster and put a Benson that's armed. So you don't remember how much flak the Benson has, but I think it's fairly shit, which is good for our purposes, which means we're going to be able to see what the flak looks like and kind of figure it out. So go ahead and hit battle. I want you to take the bombers, and you're not bombing the Benson. I want you to fly in the flak zone of the Benson and just kind of see what the flak feels like. And the best way I'm going to describe this to you is it's kind of like a waltz. Why? Flak is going to see your planes, lead X amount of seconds in the future, and fire. And it does the thing. And then 2 seconds later, it's going to have a different spot led in front of your planes that it's going to shoot a shell at. But it's not just going to shoot a shell every 2 seconds. It's going to shoot a shell that starts the 2-second hit and also finalizes it toward the end. So it's almost like a waltz. So I'm going to say numbers where the position would be. So position 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 6. So as we see what it looks like when the Benson is shooting you, you can kind of look at what this feels like. So there's some flak, more new, more new. So try to stay outside of the 3.5 because we want it to shoot flak so we can see it. You don't have to look at the Benson. I want you to look ahead of your planes because that's where the flak is going to be. So just look at where the flak is. So it's in front of you. Again, there should be new. Just go in a straight line. So there's in front. It re-ups more. It re-ups more. Well, okay, you might be too far from the Benson now. Because you got to be within 5.8. So we're trying to feel out what the timing looks like. So there's hit, re-ups more, re-ups more, re-ups more. I think you're too close. Now that's how quickly you can fly through AA. It's only 2 or 3 flak interactions. It's not very much. So, unfortunately, I don't think we got to really see it. But I kind of described it a lot, so we'll just let that be what it is. All right, so I want you to back out, and we're going to go to the Wooster, because the Wooster's going to have more flak in general.
Is much scarier.
Well, it's not about being scary. It's just so basic understanding of flak. Really basic before we hit go. So you can change that to Wooster, and we'll talk about this a little bit. So if there are 10 flak puffs, 80% of flak goes in front of the plane's line of travel. So basically, like, 80% of the shots don't look like stormtrooper shots, where they just whiff off to the side randomly, okay? However, if I understand correctly, a single ship can only put up to 6 flak puffs in front of a plane, and that's it. It doesn't get to go all the way up to the maximum of 8. You would need a second ship combining its AA to do that. So if you have 10 flak puffs, a maximum of 6 of those will be contributed to the center, and then 4 of the remaining flak puffs will be distributed off to the side. So if you turn left or right, you might encounter flak off to the left or right, because it starts to wall that way. And if we had 2 Woosters, then say that's 20 flak puffs, there's a maximum of 8 in the center, and then that would put an additional, the other 12 on the sides. That's where the flak walling comes in. So even if you turn, it's a bitch. So what do we try to do here? Well, if we know the flak timing, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, then we're gonna, if we're approaching a ship, we're not gonna look at the ship. Why? Because 1, whatever, that's gonna be between us and the ship. Well, that sucks because that means we're not going in the direction of our intended target, right? So let's pretend if instead we've got a ship over in the corner of our eye, off to the left. You know, we're like 45 degrees off target, right? And we breach into AA, and then 1 is in front of us, but it's not between us and the ship, so we turn a little bit to the left, and we avoid the shit in front of us. 1, 1, 2. 2 is now lined in on where we're pointing, so we turn a little bit to the left, and it's not between us and the ship. 2, 3. We turn a little bit to the left, and it's not between us and the ship. Oh, hey, we're so close to the ship now, it's not aiming flak anymore. And then we make an attack run. So if you're going to make an attack on a broadside ship, don't go directly at the broadside. Start 45 degrees off of the broadside and slowly turn into it. Does that make sense?
Yes, I think so, yes.
Okay, so if we're looking at a clock, you know, an old clock, if there's 12 o'clock, don't go directly from the middle of the clock up to 12. Start pointing at 2 o'clock, and then start to move into 1, and then start to move into 12, and figure out how that works. So let's go ahead and do a battle, and let's start 'trying to figure out how not to get owned by flak.
You put that so gently.
Huh, I do try. So we'll start with bombers.
Okay.
Which I suppose is a bad word to use because it could be torpedo bombers or bomb bombers, but
No, I know what you meant.
bomb planes, dive bombers. So the Wooster's going to see you probably before you see it. So once you see the little AA icon, you'll kind of know. But realistically, he's sitting in probably like G5, and you probably needed to return because he's going to start shooting you. So it doesn't matter. If your ship dies, we just load it up again. So you've got the Wooster out of the corner of your eye. You're going to want to start accelerating at about 8 kilometers so you're at speed. No. More to the right, more to the right, more to the right, more to the right, more to the right. There you go. And that first flak wave is now out. Turn to the left. Or, okay, that's fine. Or right is fine. You can turn hard to the left and you can cut inside of this flak wave. No. You need to go to the ship. The ship, that's the target.
Oh, right. I'm actually bombing the ship. Okay.
Correct. We're bombing the ship this time. And once you're within 3.5, it doesn't aim anymore, but it's going to keep shooting in the last place that it aimed. So as long as you juke that last spot, cool, you come in, you take your strike. Now use your mechanics from the Midway. Off to the left, slam on the brakes, hard turn right. And remember, the lower you are when you drop, the further your planes get shoved forward, because the longer they were going forward while you were in the bombing animation. So the sooner you can spin around, the more likely you get this second drop off. So cool. Let's do it again. Yeah, so using that bow. Good shit. So keep the Wooster out of the corner of your eye. You're going to place the initial flak spawn. Before you went to the right side around it, and then you could have cut hard left to go in. You could do that if you want to, but we're just going to practice kind of a loping turn. So eventually he's going to start shooting you. As soon as you see the little AA thing pop off, give it about half a second and start to turn in. And start turning in. Unfortunately, I think our connection is suffering, but I'm rooting for you. It looks like you didn't take any flak. Cool. So just drop. Doesn't have to be a good drop. Let's go with torpedo planes. So we don't kill the golden goose that's giving us flak puffs. Bogey found the fractal. Started a sponsorship today.
Oh, did you?
Yep, I have a little fractal thing that'll appear for 15 seconds every 2 minutes with a little exclamation fractal for people to do the thing. It links to a video where they show like a PC build, which is actually kind of a cool video. Off, you don't want to stare at it, you want to look away, you want to look away, you want to look away, not at the ship, you want to look away so you have room to turn in. Just recall, do it again. Don't drop, just recall. So 45 degrees, 90 degrees, we know what 90 degrees is, right? Fully perpendicular, whatever. 45 degrees is half of that. Right now, you're just kind of like doing this 20 degree stuff. You need to give yourself room to maneuver. You want to place the flak wall and be able to turn in. Place the flak wall, turn in a second time, and then be able to get the strike. Secondly, think about how you're turning to get to the target. You don't have enough room to cut in, because if you turn in now, you're going to end up turning so hard to the right, you're going to be in front of the ship. Nope. You're just doing this wiggle stuff. You're doing the wiggle stuff, so it's just placed in front of you because you're just wiggling back and forth. So you're interacting with the wall because you're not placing the wall.
Excuse my language, but this is hard as fuck.
Yep. But once you learn it, then you do it. And then it's not a problem anymore. All right, I want you to approach from F7. Don't be on the 6 line. Go to the 7 line. You're going to start to see the thing. Here we go. Maybe this is fine. So here's okay. You're going to go straight south. Eventually, you're going to see the Wooster. Go forward, go forward, go forward, go forward, go forward. No. Don't go at it. You're trying to give yourself room to maneuver in the flak. Cut right. No! Okay.
So confused.
Yes, I realize. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stream for you So go ahead and back out of the training room, and I'm going to try to show you. Now, note, I might suck while I do it, but I'm going to try to show you what it looks like from my perspective. So we will share the screen. I guess I could just share World of Warships and do that. And you can close your browser. You can close your thing. Alright, so are you able to watch me?
Yes, yes.
Cool. So we're going to go into a training battle. We'll use the Midway. And we'll do the same thing that we were just doing with a Wooster. I could add a second Wooster if I want to thicken up the flak, but one is fine. USA. Cruiser, Wooster, armed, yay, and Midway. So the key concepts here, we're going to be kind of giving the enemy ship some side eye so that we have room to maneuver. Let me do that. They'll take care of it. Now I have to wait for the timer because I can't speed this up. How much difference does this make against a group of ships, Thalamus? Well, if there's a group of ships, there's a lot of flak. So if you can place the flak so that you don't interact with it, or you try not to interact with it, it can make a big difference. Okay, so we're going to start with the torpedo planes, because that's what we were just looking at, right? So, we see the Wooster because he's shooting at us. How generous of him. But I'm going to come in to give myself room to hook in to strike the target, okay? So that means we're going on this line, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're in, flak just gets fired, we turn in a little. And unfortunately we eat that shit, but we can slide under this flak. I could heal if I wanted to, and then we're gonna come in and make the strike. So I interacted with flak there. That was poor. We do it again. Let's try a more aggressive turn so that we have the ability to cut inside of the flak to be able to make the strike. So this is part of practice. This is part of getting the muscle memory down. We don't have a heal this time, so we better not fuck it up.
Yep.
Especially if he ends up, if this was a player using defensive fire, if you eat flak, you're probably just dead. So, flak will be placed there. Cool, we turn in. Flak will be placed here. Cool, we turn in. We're getting close to the target. We set a flak wall there, and we go under it. If the ship is moving, we can interact with it here. Now let's try to do that. Well, I don't have torpedo planes. No, we'll have some soon. I think we're okay now. Let's get ourselves some torps. Go with 7. Alright, so again, now, other ships, for instance, like a German ship with a 5.2 AA, you know, you can get much closer before you have to do the turning shenanigans. Wooster goes out to 6.9, I think it is, so it's a pretty significant amount of radius. So we'll offset, we're trying to get to the broadside. We will place the flak there, cut out. Flak goes out, we can slow down. We start to turn in. We're actually overcommitted because that's going to put a flak wall between us. And now we're close enough that we can start our attack. So we did not interact with flak there.
Problem solved,
This would be a shot. So there's a loping turn, which is probably going to work better for things with shorter range AA. In this case, we did more of a turn out and then turn in. But again, we have to mentally keep an idea of where are we placing the flak, because every 2 seconds, it's going to look at our planes, project into the future, and put flak there. And then there's going to be some spillover, because if it has more flak than what it's just going to put in the spot, slam on the brakes, start to cut in, and then we could even cut in on this wall, and then we're inside. Is this making sense?
Yeah. Yep. That makes sense. Well, unfortunately, I've got to cut this a little bit short because I've just realised it's midnight and I've got stuff to do tomorrow. I didn't realise this would be like so in depth.
Oh, sorry.
No. Please do not apologize. I just thought you were going to watch me play a couple of games and call me an idiot. It's kind of what I'm used to.
No. You have mechanics that are functional. It comes down to refinement techniques, which is one of the reasons why I spent a lot of time discussing why are you making this decision? How do you execute on this? How do you do that? So, but it was fun. I'm tired too, so I guess okay. But hopefully the flak thing helped.
No, that'll be. I'm gonna rewatch that a couple of times and live in a training room for a little while.
Well, yeehaw. Good night, dude.
Thank you so much, my dude. I really appreciate this.
Yeah, see you.
Bye, chat.